not just pros. They are two truly world-class pairs. Brink and Driver, former world champions, and I'm sure Bucky Cemento the same. So we can hope to see bridge of a really fantastic standard here. Expect you've played against all these guys, have you, Larry?
Well, I have, but I haven't really played top-level bridge for 10 years, so at that time, well, these pairs were playing back then, so sure, I've played against all of them, and I like all of these guys. Pretty good guys here. Boki is certainly the most colorful of the four of them. So it looks like here we had a transfer response to one club, and West bid South's suit. So that's probably the equivalent of a takeout double, I would guess, and East bid a no trump.
Every day so far, and every day for the rest of this wonderful event, the Rosenblum World Championship teams. I've been watching the first session because that's a convenient time here in Europe, and then writing it up for the bulletin. So, as well as enjoying the bridge and trying to make head or tail of what's going on, I also have to look out for good hands to put in the bulletin. And often I rely on pieces of expert analysis by my co-commentator, whether that's, well, I've had several co-commentators so far, it's been really good. And I always quite odds of about 13-2, Larry, that I will give credit to the person who did the analysis rather than claiming it for myself. So, you know, I may mention that it was that you spotted the play, but it's odds against.
David, you're putting a lot of pressure on me. It's 8:05 in the morning, and I'm still trying to find some coffee, and you want me to provide brilliant analysis of a one-no trump contract?
Not of a one-no trump, I can assure you it will not be in the bulletin. I never put in part scores except when I had a shocking session on the second day when there were 10 part score hands on a 10-board match and I had to report 4 part scores. Almost killed me. I actually told the bulletin editor, I can't possibly write this up, I'll have to watch the next set and see if it's better. And then I saw there was a 1-hour delay and that would mean I'd miss my supper, so I decided I would punish myself, and just for once in my long bridge riding career I'd write up some part scores. Hope nobody
well, I can tell you that the heart suit here is almost like one we have in our book. Notice leading the 10 of hearts costs a trick. Granted, there's entry issues, but if declarer had enough entries to the west hand, the correct technical way to play this heart suit is low the 3 of hearts to the 9 or jack, get back to dummy and lead the 4 of hearts in case there's a doubleton queen, as we see here. Leading the 10 has cost a trick. Now, granted, there are entry issues, but that heart suit is interesting, and I believe we have an example of something like that in our book, David.
Brilliant. But of course in the book it will not be one no trump. We'll add another ace or king in and say they reached 3 no trumps and everything depended on how he played the heart suit. Yes, very good point, yes. And when you're defending...
Go ahead.
I was going to say that the other flip side of that is that when you're defending and declarer leads an honour, maybe the jack from the closed hand and you're deciding should I cover with the queen. Normally he wouldn't lead the jack unless he was happy that you would cover. Here, for example, declarer wouldn't lead the 10 of hearts unless he was happy if... Well, normally he wouldn't. He did do here. But if a jack is led from the closed hand, you can be pretty sure he's leading it from something like king jack 10, maybe trying to flush out your queen. So declarer who leads an honour is probably hoping that you will cover, and it may be wrong to cover, but whether you should cover or not is a much, much more difficult area than you think. Beginners are just sold, oh, cover an honour with an honour, you know. But that's, in fact, a better general rule in the long term, I think, is don't cover an honour with an honour, because it's wrong just as often as it's right.
I think it's one of the most difficult topics in bridge, even for experts, the best in the world. Sometimes don't know when to cover with an honor, and not only that, sometimes the tempo is important because if you have to think about it, you give the show away.
Hmm. Well, this is a game contract, but it's no more interesting than the first hand, really.
Yeah, 25 highs and everything stopped. You would expect them to reach 3-note trump and 5 diamond tricks, 2 clubs for 7, a heart for 8. Is there any problem getting the 9th trick? Probably the defense leads spades, and that takes care of that. However, looking at it, looking at all the hands, we can see if North ever can poke that jack of hearts through, maybe lead a high spade, or I guess South's going to be on lead. How about a 7 of spades, top of nothing lead, and North wins it and chips to the jack of hearts? How are we doing there, David?
Well, I think that if Declarer goes up with the ace and knocks out a spade, oh no, the wrong hand will get in then and can lead through again. Yeah, so he might have to duck some hearts, but then they might switch to clubs. Well, it can be interesting, but a point of considerable interest is that here Easter's actually bid hearts, but say they just bid clubs and diamonds, then the right lead from the south hand would be a spade, as Larry mentioned, but not leading from a 4-card suit headed by an honour. You can see here that leading a heart will give the 9th trick. So it's great leading from king to 5 or queen to 5, but usually leading from 4 cards to an honour, you may give half a trick away on average, and you're not going to have the compensation of setting up several lower cards. Anyway, West has he bid check back 2 clubs, and Easter's bid hearts, so now spades is the unbid suit. It'll be pretty obvious.
Yeah, I would. Wow, a 10 of clubs that's even better for even the best lead.
Yes. So Declarer has a chance of making the spade trick if he guesses it, but he would have to, if he tries to finesse the 9, that won't work. He could play low to the jack and back to the queen, which would that would work if the ace and king are together.
Well, I think if he plays spades and they shift to the jack of hearts, he's got problems. I'm just trying to figure out this club lead, David. This bidding to me, I don't understand what happened here. East apparently showed a strong no trump with his rebid. What was West's auction about? What was this 2 clubs? I mean, maybe Samantha thought that since West, it seems like he looked for a major, East showed hearts, and then when West bid 3-no trump, Samantha and I think that the dummy's coming down with 4 spades. Otherwise, why did he not just raise 1-no to 3-no?
Well, a lot of people now mystify me by responding a spade when they've got 5 diamonds and 4 spades, even if they've got 13 points. I mean, a lot of American pairs do that. I think I've seen Mexroth and Rodwell do it. I mean, we were always taught if you're worth 2 bids, bid your suits in the long first and then shorter next. So maybe, but anyway, they're playing some sort of complex 1-club system. Are they playing orange clubs, something like that? So it's not
to me, I don't know if it was what kind of a club. Maybe we can look it up. We just switched here and don't know their convention card. But regardless, we can assume 1-no trump showed a strong no trump. I don't understand the 2-club bid by West. That's what I'm trying to say. It seems like he was looking for a major, and why not? Why did he bid 2 clubs and then 3-no? Why not just 3-no? You would think he has 4 spades for that auction.
Well, I just had a look at their card, and they're not playing a strong club, actually. They're playing a natural one club. It can be 12 to 14, it can be 18 plus. So it's a little bit like the Polish club in that respect.
Okay, so the one no trump rebid was 18 probably, and then West didn't bid 3 no trump. That's what mystifies me, and that's why I think there was no spade lead. Samantha thought Dummy must be looking for spades. So the instinct of a newer player here in 3 no trump, an inexperienced player, well, certainly I hope they follow my advice or David's advice, count your sure tricks, and assuming diamonds aren't 4-0, you have 8 top tricks, 5 diamonds, 2 clubs, and a heart. So the instinct of a new player is, okay, I'll take the heart finesse and get this over with 50-50. But an expert player is going to look much more deeply into it and think about the spade suit or running the diamonds first to get information. They don't want to just take that heart finesse at trick 2. They're going to keep that in reserve. If it's onside it'll be onside at trick 8.
Another decision they have to make, even if they think they probably will have to rely on a heart finesse, is whether they play 5 rounds of diamonds first to inconvenience the defenders trying to find discards, and maybe also they'll give something away. But what Larry just said about not just relying on finessing with an ace-queen, this is made blatantly obvious by the fact that a world-class declarer has spent this long planning the play at trick 1. And that's something that always impresses me, because, I mean, they have played so many thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of deals. You know, these are the top players in the world. So if they spend some time looking at what may look like an absolutely mundane 3 no trump contract, it's because it's not at all easy to decide what to do.
Because let's say declarer were to win this and play a diamond to the ace and a spade to the jack, I think North has to shift to hearts. Pretty sure he does. If he continues clubs, that's no good. Oh, after all my talk about postponing the heart finesse, look at this. Drivers let me down.
Goodness me, and all my talk about running the diamonds first as well. God, I wasn't expecting that anyway.
Also, I would think that North had by now encouraged clubs. Either he encouraged them at trick 1 or trick 2. I don't know if they play Smith Echo, which is a signaling device where in the suit declarer leads, you play a certain way to say if you like the opening lead suit. So it surprises me that there was a spade shift. You would think Bokeh would have said he likes clubs on either the first or second trick.
Gosh, he wouldn't expect his partner to have led from 10 doubleton, surely, so he could have led low to the 9.
Well, he has the club spots to drive them out. He has the queen jack 5, yeah. So no matter what, he can just drive out.
Right, yeah,
he sees it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So now declarer will play another spade, but unfortunately for him, the person with the high spade has the good club. And yes, Boki knows that his five of clubs is high.
Wow. And I've only just seen that they were playing just in one no trump at the other table, which is a little bit surprising. Oh no, yes, that's right. So the stakes were quite high. They're pretty high anyway if you're either making or going off in three no trumps, I guess. Well, I think if he had run 5 rounds of diamonds, North would be in some trouble, wouldn't he?
Well, not just that, but you can start to get a feel for what's happening in the hearts, maybe, and it surprises me that he did that. Maybe he had a good reason. It is surprising, though.
Well, when the Heart Finesse lost, he was quite willing to. No, I see. I was going to say he played on spades then. He didn't. The defence played on them. Yeah.
He kind of put all his eggs into that heart basket or trick too. It's just I don't, we don't know what was in his head. Sometimes, David, I'm commenting like we are here, and then I talk to the players later, and they tell me something I didn't even think of. So maybe we're just missing something.
Well, it's particularly surprising when he spent such a long time making his plan that I actually pointed out how long he was thinking of it. I mean, Andrew Robson obviously often thinks for a long time, but he usually does come up with the right play at the end. I can say that for him.
Yeah, I was hoping for something more interesting. Speaking of more interesting, I don't know that this three no trump looks dead on arrival. There's just nothing here. He's got 7 top tricks, 3 and 3 in clubs and hearts, and the ace of diamonds. And yes, he can play on spades and eventually set up a trick there, but I don't see a ninth trick here. Well, king queen doubleton of diamonds, so that's could get a diamond trick if he guesses that it's king queen doubleton. That's 8. And does he have time to set up a spade? Maybe there is something interesting here.
Well, the 8 surely places the king queen with south, but no reason for it to be king queen tight.
So really here, what the issue is the defense. They have this diamond trick and 3 spades, but now they're not going to set up one of Cementa's his 4th club or 4th heart now won't get set up. So perhaps it's going to make at this point. You see the defense missed their chance to set up a 5th trick. And Declare is going to come to his hand and play a spade. And North has only one more entry, so it won't do him any good to set up his diamonds. And it's too late now for South to set up his 4th round. So at this point, I don't see how Declare can go down.
No, but in fact I just pressed the give button, and that's saying that the only way to make it is to lead queen or 10 of spades from dummy.
Oh yeah, I'm getting that also. So right, if he comes to his hand to lead a spade, then he is in effect setting up South's 4th trick.
Yes, he weakens his defense even though he's got a triple stopper.
Wow, that's actually a very interesting position. And can he work this out? And why the queen or the 10? Let's see. If he leads a low spade, North can unblock his ace and switch to a club or a heart. If he leads the queen of spades, North can win the ace and switch to a club or a heart. So why the queen or the 10? Very interesting.
Hmm.
Oh, I see why. David, if he let a low spade, it would go low, 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 nine, and North sets up his diamonds. That's why. Okay, well, now South can just continue with clubs, the suit that Declarer crossed him, and set up his fourth club.
Wow. Well, anyway, wasn't that a great spade position? I mean, I was discussing with Peter Lunt yesterday. He says, "Oh, I never use Gib. It is so hopeless." But you know, just by looking at Gib, we saw something leading the Queen or Ten of Spades that I'm sure I, speaking for myself, would never have dreamed of doing. And because Gib tipped us off that it was an interesting play, then Larry was able to spot why it would work, which is very, very interesting. So I don't see why anyone should be too nervous to use the Gib button, or if they're so pompous a commentator that they want to tell everyone, "Oh, it's all coming out of my own brain, you know. Someone like me, I don't need to use the Gib button, but you people watching, by all means, press it." You know, who's going to admire
Yeah, I'm with
that?
you, David. But on the other end of the spectrum, I just don't like when the announcer, oh, now Samantha's come back to hearts. This is a ping pong game here. He had to continue the suit that he has four of. All right, so now Declarer is back to making it. David, the thing I don't like is when commentators, and it's obvious, written or oral, you can tell they've clicked it, and they say, oh, a club now is the killing defense, and only because they've clicked on it, and they don't understand why it is. They just say, oh, club lead beats it now, and they don't explain why, so that gets me too.
Yeah. I've sometimes been a bit naughty with fellow commentators when they say, yes, the club lead beats it. And I say, oh, does it? Well, why is that then?
Yes.
Puts them into a bit of a panic.
Right. It would be like if on that previous deal I said to you, David, he's got to play the 10 of spades now. And you said, why? You would have put me on the spot.
Look, would I dare do it to you? I wasn't saying I would dare do it to you, but there are some people that I would dare do it to.
Well, no doubt that deal is going to make it into print. A very interesting situation, and there was a bit of back and forth there, but the concept on that deal is something I've never seen. So you always see something new in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, I usually, just as a sort of quick guide as to which boards I should write up, I look for big swings, but we've already seen boards 2 and 3. Not many imps in them, but they were great deals.
Okay, so notice East's 3 clubs here, which looks offbeat and kind of strange. However, when you're in third seat, you can take a lot of liberties. Your partner's a passed hand, so East says to himself, we don't have a game our way, so he can afford to make a bit of an offbeat preempt, such as 3 clubs, knowing that he might disrupt the opponents, and meantime, his side isn't going to miss a game. Does South have enough to double here? I think I would. It's only a 12 count, but all the points are outside of clubs, so I would double with South's hand.
It's just a bit too little for me. There was a hand yesterday where someone overcalled 3 spades on Queen 10 to 5 and a 13-14 count. They overcalled 3 spades, and it should have worked out okay because they found partner with all the points and not the guy on the left. But then Declarer went off in 3 no trumps, so they threw his good decision away to some extent.
I did see that hand. So here, 4 clubs. Looks like there's nothing to it. It's kind of the easiest hand ever to play, as opposed to the previous 2. What would happen if South had doubled? I think West still would have raised clubs, and North would have surely bid 4 hearts. And they're off a club and 2 spades, and maybe I don't think 4 hearts would make. 4 hearts would probably be down 1, maybe 2. So not a big deal.
So that's not costing very much when 4 clubs comes home.
unless West would have sacrificed in 5 clubs against 4 hearts, it would have been a phantom sacrifice. So I think at a lot of tables, and all the matches play the same boards, at a lot of tables we'll see this deal get a little higher, North-South 4 hearts and maybe East-West 5 clubs, both contracts down.
Oh, well, I don't think West should go to 5 clubs with such a flat hand. It's a good guideline. Don't sacrifice on balanced hands. He doesn't have a singleton, and he's got a lot of losers in all the side suits, and partner, and he's vulnerable as well. So anyway, we can check as Larry says. I mean, there are going to be 12 tables saved away in the archive, BBO archive, and we can tell just by the contract that gets reached whether South did come in or whatever, and see if anyone did climb all the way up to 5 clubs. I suppose you're facing a vulnerable opener, so you're going to expect partner maybe to have a 7-card suit even in the third seat.
So here, if East-West reach 4 spades, it's pretty much on the club guess. And since North opened the bidding, declarer might guess clubs correctly. There's a little more to it. The spades jack has to be dealt with, and it's few entry issues, but you would think East-West reach 4 spades and guess correctly and make it. Now, if West bid, say, 2 spades here or 3 spades, that's not preemptive. You can't preempt in the pass-out seat, so it would show a very good hand. I think I might have bid 2 spades, David, to show this sort of hand and strength. What about you?
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty clear, yeah, the way you and I play. When you think what you might have to protect with 1 spade, and you've got a good 7-card suit, but now he's heard 1 no trump, so it's going to bid at least 3 spades now.
Well, this is the second deal, board 1 being the first one, where West has wheeled out some sort of conventional 2 clubs. I guess he just likes to use that bid. I wouldn't have done it on board 1 nor this one. I don't know what it was all about here. Maybe it's some sort of size ask. So maybe Zia would find a low club lead. I'm not an ace under leader. I would probably lead a trump from the north end. David, you could tell me some of the results from your simulations in your book about leading or under leading aces here.
Well, actually, it would be fairly useless because, of course, all our simulations had to use double dummy analysis, so you never fool the computer by leading low anyway. So it wouldn't be much use, I'm afraid.
So not only did North open the bidding to help with the club guess, but when you do have to guess an ace-queen as here, you do have a slight extra inference from the opening lead because the player might lead away from a queen, whereas they'd never lead away from an ace. So that's yet a further inference to guess the clubs correctly.
Players do sometimes underlead aces, but they don't just do it randomly. If they do it at all, it's usually when the strong hand is going down in the dummy, and they think there's a reasonable chance that the king will be in the dummy, and it may be the jack will be there, and maybe their partner will have the queen. So you can do it if you're leading through a strong hand, or here, for example. I suppose East has not shown any support for spades, so he might just possibly have something good in clubs, which was the suit North opened, albeit that it might have been short. So you might think that dummy might have the king-jack. So it's not entirely out of the question for people who are willing to make such risky leads to do it on this auction, but it's certainly not anything that a teacher like Larry would ever recommend to his students, because they'd be coming back for the next 5 years saying, you remember what you told me 2 years ago, just as the cruise ship was going into Honolulu? You said, you could underlead an ace. Believe me, Larry, I've tried it so many times, like that.
Yeah, David, if I had $1 for every time I've heard Larry said to do such and such, I might be up to Bill Gates money. Although I guess I should use Jeff Bezos now.
Well, all the cruises you do, you're probably 10% towards Bill Gates already.
Yeah, that would have to be in the billions, David. I'm afraid not. So back to the club guest here. Declarer is, just because North opened the bidding doesn't mean he has to have 3 aces. So Declarer is going to be counting high card points. He's going to find out that North started with ace queen of diamonds and the ace of hearts is 10. And what if he had the queen of clubs? That's 12. He would open the bidding. So he's going to have to start looking at the convention card. He might be doing that right now, or asking, what is your range for one no trump opening? That's always an issue when you're trying to guess and someone's opened the bidding. You need to know what their one no trump range is.
Right, now there's a discard on the heart, so North has to switch to clubs to put into a guess before he discards one of his clubs.
And he has. North has a complete count on the hand, and well done by everyone. Now, this is the difference between match points and imps, of course, David. At match points, underleading that club, if you think Declarer is going to probably guess anyway, that's going to cost you big time. At imps, that overtricks, it's worth the risk. So almost everyone today would open the East hands, but one consideration, it's an easy hand to rebid because you have 4 spades. Notice if your majors were reversed, if you had 4 hearts and 1 spade, and you open the bidding a club and your partner responds a spade, and you have a really awkward rebid. So when it's a borderline opening, you have to take those things into account. How's the auction going to develop? And with this East hand, you can't get embarrassed for a rebid problem. So that even more shouts towards opening. So that 1 spade, I'm guessing, is the transfer to 1 no trump. I don't think it shows a club raise.
Yeah, a lot of people do play transfers after overcalls and over doubles, and opposite a club. A lot of them in England anyway now play it even if South passes. They open a club on all weak no trumps and use transfer responses, and that works really, really well. It's a great system.
And Bocchi's 2 no trump, this was almost invented in Italy, is not a no trump hand. It's a 4-card heart raise. Cupid would be a 3-card raise. 2 no trump on so many auctions that they use as a 4-card or longer limit or better raise.
But I thought I read today in one of the comments you wrote on the book we're writing that if it goes a heart, 2 diamonds, you play 2 no trumps as natural by responder.
Well, I teach that. Yes, I mean, I don't have my students playing any of this stuff because, it's too easy to forget it, and it's too much of a change. So, yeah, I would still teach and recommend that 2 no trumps natural, even though I like this method.
Well, when you're facing an overcall, it's pretty standard over here that you Q-bid if you've got 3-card support and bid 2 no trumps if you've got 4-card support to let partner know how many trumps you have.
Right, but was that standard in 1994? I don't think so. It's more of a newer treatment.
Ah, I see. You teach 1994 bidding, do you? I didn't realize that.
Well, other than 2/1 game force, of course. This was a nice way to get the extra trick on defense, to get the rough. Good match point result again for East West to hold the contract. Not a big deal in this form of scoring. David, I like to teach bidding that is natural and easy to remember and accident proof. So very few alerts. That's fine. If it that might be confused or forgotten, and don't teach it or play it or use it, other than maybe Stamen.
Yes, one of the biggest and most successful teaching clubs in England is run by Andrew Robson in Fulham in London. And he's got something like 3,000 members. I mean, he's absolutely adored as a teacher. But what he's done there, in all the bidding boxes, he's thrown out not only the alert card, but also the stop card. Because he doesn't want people to be intimidated, he wants them just to enjoy the game. So it's part of the reason for his success, I think, that people just love everything he does and says.
Well, they've thrown out the stop card here as of this year. There's no more stop card because it confused too many people. But I agree with a lot of Andrew's philosophies, his teaching, his theories. We have very similar ideas in a lot of areas. So I'm glad to hear how successful he is.
It's rather remarkable because, I mean, I remember thinking for decades that all the bridge teachers around, really, they weren't very good players. They were just very good teachers, and they were able to teach people maybe who, were never going to be great stars, but get the best out of them. But, I mean, if you think that both you and Andrew do a lot of teaching, and that's the other side of the coin.
Well, and it's true, David. There's a lot of great expert players who are terrible teachers, and there's some not very good bridge players who are expert teachers, so they don't necessarily go hand in hand.
Well, the prime example of that was Terence Rees. I mean, he wrote Teach Yourself Bridge or something. It was ludicrously difficult, unbelievably so. I mean, I myself have found it really quite difficult to sort of understand what level you should write some teaching books at, but I mean, his was just so absurd, it was outrageous. Sort of almost chapter 3, whoa, it's restricted choice in the club student. This was teaching people how to learn the game, goodness me.
Yeah, well, most bridge experts who try to teach, they don't. The common mistake is they aim too high. I've never seen anyone aim too low. They just tend to go way over the students' heads, and that's the problem. I've seen expert lecturers, and the class, the people just walk out. They're lost. Well, I'm sure someone's going to complain that we're not analyzing two spades. Looks like declarer is going to trump a diamond in dummy to me. But this is a pretty basic example. You have 3 diamonds in your hand and 2 in the dummy, and you don't draw trump. This is a very basic teaching example because I have students who would win the opening lead and start trump, and they would never trump a diamond in dummy.
We can see that if the trump had been led, declarer has to give up a diamond before he can get a ruff, and now the defenders can draw 2 more rounds of trumps. So if we imagine, say, that South had 3 trumps to the ace and North led a trump from a doubleton, the winning defence might be for South not to play his ace on the first round, and then when his partner got in diamonds, he could play a second one over to the ace and a third one back, but that might be a pretty difficult defence to work out.
Yeah, that's a good defensive theme, and here the Queen of Clubs then might need to come to the rescue, and it would, since the king is well placed. The defense can't both pull trump and knock the ace of diamonds out of dummy, so the queen of clubs would come into play. Looks like we have our first big swing, David, on board 6. Maybe, I'm not sure why. It looked like a nothing deal.
It's 2 no trumps played by North going down.
So that's my perfect example, maybe, David, of convention problems. It looks like North intended 2 no trump as a 4-card heart raise, and South took it as natural. That was Pepsi playing with the team sponsor, and they weren't on the same page, and that's the danger of conventions.
Yes. Well, that's entirely the professional's fault then, really, if he wasn't confident. But he wasn't really good enough to bid 4 hearts instead, was he? Sometimes you have to make the second best bid just to hope to get to the right contract without causing any problems for your partner. But I suppose if he had bid 3 clubs, that would be read as a good raise of hearts.
So the only issue here is if North-South reach slam, obviously they're off the ace of hearts, and even if we say it's on a club finesse, it's not even that good at all. So maybe there's a double dummy way to make 6, but I don't think you want to be in it. 31 high card points. Possible they'll sniff out 6 clubs or 6 no trump.
If you look at the North and South hands in turn, you see queens and jacks all over the place and no shortage, so neither of them is ever going to upgrade their hand, and they may well stop short.
Well, it all depends on what the range of this no trump is, and when I clicked on Boki to look at his convention card, it's giving me something that has nothing to do with that. I guess we need to know the range of this no trump. Is it 14 to 16? Did he upgrade? That's what South's decision depends on. I'm trying to find their convention card. I don't know if I'm used to having Al Hollander telling us everything. I see a written comment 15 to 17.
No, I looked it up and it says 15, 17 when I went through Samantha and chose WBC card 15 to 17. Yeah. So
okay,
he's
North
already,
has upgraded.
He's upgraded.
Yeah, I guess he likes the 10-9 of hearts. I don't know that I agree. Maybe sometimes people listening, they type in the KNR for us. I can't receive comments, David, but maybe someone can look up what what the computer thinks it's worth.
Well, that usually triggers me saying what I think of the KNR.
Go for it.
I say it all the time. I think it's complete nonsense to give a value of a hand before you know if you're going to play no trumps or a suit. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, if they said it was evaluating a hand in terms of opening a certain number of no trumps and you were going to play no trumps, then that would be great, and I would be able to sort of tell whether it was accurate on this occasion. But if it's a hand where you may be going to play in 3 or 4 spades, I don't see that it's of any value whatsoever. How do you know if a singleton is good or bad?
Right, but for a balanced hand like this, I find it's somewhat of an indication. I agree.
Yeah.
If you're 6, 4, 2, 3, 0, no. But for this hand, I'd be curious to see because it's going to tell us how much that Queen 10-9 fourth is worth. The one thing about hand evaluation, yeah, I like 10s, I like 9s, but when they're together and they're in a 4-card suit with a higher honor, they're definitely worth more. So Queen 10-9 low is a very nice upgradable holding. The problem is the rest of his spot cards, I don't see anything above a 7. Also, no jacks is good. It's the 4 cards club suit has the ace and queen. There's all sorts of little factors experts eventually realize what's good and what's not for these half-point decisions.
Yes.
Now
Well, that's it's very important that
ahead.
you should have your high cards in the length. So he's got that. And looking at his short suits, at least they're kings, because if they were queens instead, then they would be worth less than 2 points. But the kings are not so bad. But in any case, it depends whether you like to upgrade or not. Some players will very, very rarely upgrade, and they need it to be a really special hand where you would get to the same answer just by scoring a half a point extra for your tens. Or you have a 5-card suit, say, that's worth an extra point.
Yeah, and here we see KNR 14.1. I find bridge players love to upgrade. They never seem to downgrade. Samantha has done a good job, though, realizing that his 17 is not so good. He doesn't have any tens. He's a King Jack Doubleton, although his partner has shown hearts. So Samantha has judged well to only invite here.
Yes, that's well done. But of course, he was solving a problem of their own making in a way. With Bocky, might not have upgraded it, and then it would have been easier.
Right. So slam. If you are in slam, you knock out the ace of hearts, and that gets you up to 10 tricks. The club finesse, if it wins, and it does, gets you to 11. But then you still need something else, either a diamond break or a lucky club layout or a squeeze. So it looks like the club finesse works, but none of the other chances come in. The club spots, are they good enough? No, they're not good enough. So, yeah, it really can't make 6, even looking at all the hands. And no doubt some tables will be in 6. But what really matters here is the other table in this match. But I'm sure throughout the event, some players will reach either 6 clubs or 6 no trump, and they get what they deserve. It's not a good contract, and it doesn't make. So even if you might not like it, David, you see the KNR for South Hand is also pretty low.
No, I didn't make my case clearly enough. I'm entirely in favour of it for balanced hands. They were evaluating how good their cards were in no trumps. For 4-4-3-2, that's fine.
So is this a vulnerable 2-club overcall for you, David? For me, this is kind of on the borderline.
Well, it was Sabino Alcon who pointed out how effective it is to bid 2 clubs, and that you should strain every muscle to do that over a diamond. And the reason for that is that South can't bid 2 of a suit unless he's got something pretty strong and a pretty decent suit. So there's no way he can say that he must have both the majors for a double, and that inconveniences North-South. Because if Bocky has a major, he doesn't know if her partner's double was based on 4 cards in that suit or not. Or a simpler way of looking at it is that 2 clubs takes away so much bidding space from the opponent, and that's one of the 3 or 4 reasons why you might choose to overcall. I mean, to contest the bidding and suggest a good lead 2 of the other ones. Right. She wrote 2 clubs over 1 diamond, or 2 diamonds over 1 club. Those were the bids that she found worked out well. I don't know if that's what got East to do it. Did it matter here? Let's see. North-South reached 3 diamonds. Looks sort of like a normal spot. Well, I was thinking East was trying very manfully to stop the opponents finding their major suit fit, and his partner was 5-5 in the majors. As to the meaning of West's redouble, that's a matter of
David, you can't believe how many questions I get where the answer is two words. I'll let you guess what the question is, but the answer is partnership agreement. And of course, the question is, what does what does such and such mean?
Oh, I see. I thought it was going to be a student asking you, well, what's the most important thing missing in my game, Larry?
Well, that
it wasn't that, no.
This is like Jeopardy, where you have to guess the question from the answer. But, the question goes something like, what does West 3 double here mean? Well, it's partnership agreement. Some people play it just cards. Some people play is something called the Rosencrantz, where it shows a high club honor. I don't think anyone would play it as SOS, not as rescue, not in the direct seat.
No. The Rosencrantz double usually promises ace-x or king-x. And part of the bonus of that is that it can sometimes get a really clever lead from your partner. If he's got king to 5 and you've got ace-x, he can underlead it, or even underlead ace to 5 when you've got king-x over and back and a ruff. Because if you had 3 clubs to an honor, you would tend to raise the clubs in some way rather than giving the opponents plenty of space and just redoubling.
So
I don't really know what he meant.
Well, I think it meant cards. Just cards. He had a nice hand.
He didn't have many points, did he?
I think he had 2 aces.
Gosh, well, I don't know if that's enough to show cards. No, it's borderline anyway, with a misfit.
So the question here is, do East-West overreach or optimistically get to 4 spades? Certainly not likely if East doesn't respond.
Well, he should respond, shouldn't he? I think he will. Oh, he hasn't. Oh, well. Gosh, well done.
Yeah, well, if he did respond, I think it would lead to a game. And game is, I think is a good enough description. Might make, though. Wouldn't shock me to see some 620s. So 1-note trump and balancing seat, whether or not you're a past hand, is light. Certainly this one's very risky. With that, I think I would pass 1 spade, David. As much as I don't like to defend against the 1-level contract, I think the risk reward with that south hand, what am I think minus 800 could happen on a bad day.
Yeah, I think it was very dangerous. I mean, the opener might have had a big hand.
Surprising. Still no 2 spades by East. Maybe he was leery or wary of a possible 4-card major in the 3rd seat.
Well, I think it would be a bit wrong to pass initially when you might have... Oh, I see. South was a passed hand as well, so that's one of the reasons why he may not have bid 2 spades. If West had opened the spade in 1st seed, I think that the odds favour bidding 2 spades just to shut out the next guy. Yeah, I suppose there we are. They know what they're doing. Is it going to work or not?
Yeah, he's going to go plus anyway. So I can't see 1-note trump making here. The West already has 6 tricks in his hand. He's got 4 good spades, and certainly there's more than those 6 for the defense. So it's just a question of down how many. So yeah, East-West have done well, unless we think 4 spades would have made. Certainly 4 spades isn't down yet, because the king of clubs is on side and there's a discard on the heart, and it's not Well, there's entry problems getting those diamonds going. I think on a diamond lead, four spades would make.
Well, a diamond lead would be pretty helpful. I mean, they're not really close to four spades, and maybe if a spade is raised to two, that he wouldn't he might make a game try if he discounts the king of hearts.
Yeah, he has 19 high card points. Granted, a singleton king, but you put these world class players vulnerable. It's like waving a flag in front of a bull. They're bidding games.
How do you see the odds of whether Bocky should go into hearts or not?
Well, that's a good question, David. I've written a lot about this. I like to try to keep things simple. And my advice is that if my partner opens the bidding in no trump, and I have a 5 card major, I would recommend 100% transferring to it or reaching it. Don't even think about it. However, when my partner has overcalled one no trump, then I recommend using your judgment, because a one no trump overcall is sometimes off shape. Suits aren't splitting as well. Your partner could even have a singleton in your major. So there, I don't recommend blindly transferring to it. And also, North has jack and one spade. That's the opponent's suit. That's a big holding for playing no trump. So I like to use reasoning, and I agree with Boki here, whether it works or not.
Well, that all made plenty of sense. The other auction people debate is if you get a free run and it goes a diamond, a heart, and no trump. I don't like it when people bid two hearts now, but I mean people do it quite a lot. But back in England, we're very free with raising on 3-card support, so it's not the same as bidding opposite a one no trump opener.
Well, that's a similar debate, but that one depends a lot on system philosophy. What is your philosophy as far as rebidding one no trump off shape, as opposed to maybe repeating a 5-card minor? In other words, what's the default bid when you're stuck? I like to play that. I would never rebid one no trump with a singleton in my partner's suit. A lot of experts disagree with me. They don't mind rebidding one no trump with a singleton in their partner's suit. So a lot of the decision making depends on your partnership philosophy of the one no rebid.
Well, it can also depend on how many points you've got in the heart suit, because if you've got ace to 5, you've got some chance of making quite a few tricks in no trump in the heart suit. But if you've got queen to 5 or jack to 5, you may prefer to make it trumps and score some of them that way.
Right, but basically you're back to David, use your bridge judgment as opposed to my blind rule when it's a one no trump opening. And the game's hard enough. I like to have that rule in place, and it's worked pretty well for me when it's one no trump opening. I'm afraid we might have another part score here, David.
Well, I agree with that rule about always transferring with 5, yes. If only because you're just wasting precious brain power in what is already an unbelievably tiring game, so you don't want to be thinking every time you pick up 5 triple 3 2, well, shall I transfer or not? Just do it, for heaven's sake. It's not going to make much difference. It's such a close decision that you're not going to gain by sort of thinking for ages whether to bid it or not. Well, I'm fairly confident I'll have enough to write about by the time we come to the end, because there's that 4-no trump hand still to come, and I'd already marked 2, 3, and 6 as worthy of note, and we've still got quite a lot of boards to come.
Well, if you're desperate, you can discuss that heart suit from board one. Not necessarily the one no contract, but the queen and one, ace nine, ace eight four. Well, I posted a link to my discussion about the five card major and transferring, and I can say, observing for 30 or 40 years, I have found that that's fine to just always transfer. And the worst is when you start zigging and zagging, and one time you transfer and you're wrong, so the next time you don't transfer and then you're wrong again.
Yes. Well, anyway, on board one, apart from it being a one no trump contract, I'm not going to put in something like leading low towards honours in a in a World Championship bulletin. If it was a beginner's bulletin somewhere, I might do it. Obviously, with some of the best players in the world reading what you write, you've got to try and, first of all, not make any mistakes. Because I find that usually the people in the bulletin room, the editors and so on, are so busy they're not going to notice if you make any mistakes. You can't rely on them. So you've got to really check all your stuff carefully and just hope you haven't made a blunder.
So this East-West, they have a lot of assets, but this Heart lead is kind of a killer. All the diamonds are wrong. That's the only thing that wins, the spade finesse. Nothing else good is going to happen. Although, look at the spade spots. I see DeClerc can finesse the seven of spades, and he might not get to dummy, though, David. He can get there with the fourth diamond. I think that might be too late, though.
North has sort of got a hand where some players would begin to think about overcalling a heart. He's got 14 points, and he's also got length in the suit bid on the right, which the textbooks tell you is a good thing. The only thing he doesn't have is a fairly sturdy four-card suit. It's only King 10 9x, but how would you feel about overcalling one heart at match points, Larry?
I'm a big whereas Mike Lawrence is a big four-card overcaller, I'm the opposite. I only do it when it's really, really clear. I find it messes up my partner's judgment. If it's a part score hand, that law, I think it's called the law of total tricks, that messes up his judgment.
Right. Well, I haven't seen any recent photos. How big is Mike Lawrence then?
Well, he's taller than me, and he likes to fight the law. I see North-South block the heart suit here as we were talking things over. At least the viewgraph operator thinks they blocked them. I don't think it's...
No, you may have missed my joke about him being a big one-heart overcaller.
Oh, that was a play on words. Yeah, I missed that. I wouldn't expect that from you, David.
No, well, I mean, you were lucky to miss it. All the kibitzers are saying.
I would have groaned, but it's still too early in the morning for me.
Well, it would be a bit rude, wouldn't it? As well. Not that, not that I mind being a bit rude occasionally if I think the play merits it, even if the players are 20 times as good as me.
Oh, well, that's an overbid. So it looks like North's going to end up getting end played here. Maybe, well, no. Diamond loses, then he can play the king of clubs, and DeClerc can cash a spade, and that's that. This hand did not sit very well for East-West, but what's 50 a trick? No one really cares about these things.
You remember the board where Bocky and Cementa were quite disciplined and stopped in 4-no trumps. They got to 6 clubs on the 4-4 fit at the other table, and that went 2 down.
Yeah, we were saying that, some will reach slam, and it's not a good slam, and justice is rewarded. Sometimes you get to a 30% slam, and it makes. I hate to see big swings like that on luck. I shouldn't gloss over, David, this down 1 or down 2, because a spectacular match yesterday between Nickel and Mahaffey that ended up in a tie, and then the overtime was 2-1 in favor of Nickel, with Overtrick Imps obviously determining the match.
I only had time to look at that very closely, but wasn't the 3-no trumps made at both tables cold off after the club switch? Didn't they have an ace and 4 club tricks to take?
Yeah, it was a very interesting deal. I got a phone call at a weird hour from one of the players in the match lamenting what could have been. Neither table set 3-no trump. And then the last deal was careless overtricks affected the match.
But the first one, South led a sort of a passive lead over to the ace. And now North had got Queen Jack to 4 clubs and his partner had Ace 10 to 4. But he switched to the Jack of clubs. Well, if that was their normal card from Queen Jack, I mean, I don't see why South didn't continue the suit. But it was covered by the King and he won with the Ace. And now South continued with his passive lead in hearts, where he could see Declarer had it well stopped because he didn't think he wanted to carry on playing the club suit. But I don't know what on earth he thought his partner had. He might have lived the Jack.
It's not clear. It wasn't clear what went wrong at that table on the club shift, and at the other table they didn't even find a club shift. The lead was not to an ace. The lead was hit Declarer suit and then a finesse loss, and the defender had to decide what to shift to. Queen of clubs takes 4 club tricks. One table shifted to a diamond, so there was no chance. The table shifted to the Jack of clubs and got it wrong. But I guess our listeners want us to do this deal. So let's see, 3-no trump. Spade lead is going to cost a trick. So 3 spade tricks. 2 diamonds is 5. The double dummy that would guess the hearts, but in real life, Declarer is going to finesse in hearts. So he'll have 8 tricks. Will he? This is where clicking on Gibb is useless, because Gibb is going to play the ace king of hearts. He's looking at all, maybe it's a she, the more politically correct trouble, David. Gibb, whether it's a he or a she, would lay down the ace king of hearts and laugh and take 9 tricks. So it's a little useless here. In real life, Declarer might play a club now. That would work pretty well. The spot cards and diamonds are very interesting in that it looks like Declarer 7 of diamonds will protect him in that suit. Like, for example, say Samantha wins king of clubs, shifts to a low diamond, low, Jack, king. Another club, queen, that 7 of diamonds is a stopper of sorts.
Also, surprisingly, if we look at the heart suit, you might see that leading the Jack there, if it was covered, might promote 9/4 to South, just as you pointed out on board 1, whereas you could pick up Queen Doubleton with North by leading low twice.
Right, you would want to lead low. Playing this heart suit, you want to lead low to the 10. You don't want to lead the Jack in case it's a Queen Singleton or Doubleton. It's the same concept. Well, you would think, I'm not being double dummy here, you would think that playing a club is the right line for Declarer. Granted, I mean, the ace king in the same hand, which is really a 50% chance, that means he gets a club trick on his own. But even if clubs were, say, 3-3, got king 10 low and ace 9 low, as long as the defense doesn't set up too many tricks, you're eventually developing a club trick. So I would think I would play the 2 of clubs now. You don't want to play spades or diamonds and set up their tricks, and you don't want to lead hearts from dummy.
No, Just what I was going to say. The other three suits are out of it, so he's not necessarily thinking what to do next. He may be planning a bit deeper than that. Wow, he has played a spade.
This is making me think of the earlier deal where he got it over with and took that heart finesse right away. That was driver on the other one.
Well, I suppose he just wanted to come to hand to play hearts, yeah.
This is a little bit like deal 2, where Declarer just took a heart finesse right away. So he's got 8 tricks, but wow, I guess he's gonna, the lay of the cards is very fortunate for him in that when he crossed in spades, he was setting up spade tricks for the defense, but because of the entry situation and the 5-2 spades, he's lucky that the defense can't set up any spades. So what this is going to come down to, David, now is that 7 of diamonds. You change the 7 and 6 of diamonds, and it would be a different ball game.
Well, he just didn't like the look of the club suit enough, did he? Just with the 8 and the 7 backing it up.
Well, I suppose he was thinking that if his luck is in hearts, he has 9 tricks. And if the heart loses, maybe there'll be some sort of position where the defenders have to break clubs. But I wouldn't want to rely on that because by then they probably have too many tricks. You're going to lose to the queen of hearts, and they're probably going to set up spade or diamond tricks.
Well, that was the problem with saying that if he plays on clubs and doesn't find immediate luck, he may be okay if they're 3-3, but if he's going to have to give up 3 club tricks, it's likely they can do too much damage before he gets to the last card.
Yeah, this one's kind of similar to deal 3, David. That was the one where Declarer crossed, he was 3-3 in hearts and 3-3 in clubs, and he crossed to his hand, and that enabled the defense to set up their 4th card. It's funny how these deals are kind of similar, 2, 3, and 12. Now, South knows nothing about the diamonds. All he knows is that West has a weak no trump. He doesn't know anything about his minor suit length.
Just about room, maybe, for the North to have the Queen of Clubs from South's point of view. That would still give West a 12 count.
Do you think he could be considering playing the 5 of clubs here? Well, let's see. He doesn't know about the Jack of Hearts, though. See, he doesn't know Declarer has 3 heart tricks. He knows Declarer probably has 3 spade tricks. He doesn't know about the Jack of Hearts or the Queen of Clubs or the Jack of Diamonds. Those are all important cards that he doesn't know about.
Someone's reminding me that they open 1 no trump at this score on 9-12, so the 1 no trump rebid shows 13 up.
Yeah, but these days players upgrade 12 to 13. Although I have to say that Cementa can already see that Declarer had none of the 10s. His partner led a 10, and he can see all the other 10s. So that accounts, that might mean that Declarer really does have 13, not a 12 that he upgraded. Oh boy. Well, he went for the big play here. This is a bit of the Kid Woolsey has a theory on defense that if it's complicated and you're not sure what to do, and you find a possible play that will just set it right away. For example, here, Samantha said, well, if my partner has queen in a club, we're going to set it. Woolsey says, go for it. In other words, if you can't figure it out, it's really complicated, you see a way that you might set it, then go for it. Of course, that didn't work here.
No, but it wasn't so much an all or nothing play, because, I mean, what else is he going to do? It's a bit risky to play diamonds instead.
Yeah, but he could have played a passive heart back.
Well, then Kit Wools's argument would have some merit that you might then hand them a game when you could have taken off and top tricks.
But for you here, for example, what if the declarer had ace jack of diamonds and the jack of hearts, and you go passive and he's got 9 tricks with a diamond guess? Could have been the right play. But maybe that's playing declarer for a 12 count again. So maybe I guess we'd have to count the points. If he played declarer for a 12 count and declarer couldn't have a 12 count, then maybe it was wrong.
Well, he had 14, and if he doesn't know where the Jack of Hearts is, then partner could have the Queen of Clubs when declarer had. No, I'm not sure.
So this is, you would not expect anyone to reach game here, but if they do, this is the most friendly layout you can possibly imagine. So 4 hearts would actually make 5. All you lose is 2 club tricks. But I would guess a couple of people bid this, but I don't see on what reason.
Well, 10 counts are normally underbid if North 1 heart is just raised to 2 hearts. Some people do on a flat 10 count. Anyway, that's part of his structure for raising hearts. Maybe that shows a raise to the 3 level with only 3 trumps.
Actually, David, just looking at the north-south hands, it's a flat 12 opposite a flat 10, but actually game is pretty good. You would want to be in a vulnerable 4 hearts because of the 10 and 9 of diamonds. I mean, really, all you need in 4 hearts is just one of the red suits to behave, either one.
That's because you get the spade away on the 4th diamond.
Exactly. So it's a very good game. It's probably 75-80%, I would say.
But it's about 10% that they're going to bid it. if you count losers instead.
Well, yeah, but that's pretty fun. You know, a 75% vulnerable game at Imps, you would think you'd want to be in it.
3 diamonds, what can that possibly mean? Well, they're mystifying us in the bidding. It's like a magic trick. Are they going to unveil the cold 4 hearts, and we'll all have to applaud the 2 magicians?
Wow, there you go.
Goodness me.
And was 3 diamonds just a help suit, the old-fashioned help suit game choice? Al certainly. If so, I mean, this is a really good auction. They diagnosed the issue here. Or maybe it's just plain luck.
Well, it's not amazing.
David, this is a little bit like the theme of some of our deals. David and I are writing kind of a intermediate book on declarer play. You know, we have all these things about when to take a safety play or not, and this trump suit lends itself to possible safety plays. you first want to know if the diamond finesse is winning. So, like say you take a diamond finesse and you believe that it really has won, then you might be tempted to make a safety play in hearts. Whereas if the diamond finesse loses, you have to play the hearts the normal way, king and then low to the jack.
Yes, but if they knock out one of the spades, which they have done, then would that matter or not? I don't know.
This is not a perfect example. There's entry issues, and plus, even if you take the diamond finesse, these players are going to duck smoothly anyway. You don't even know if it's winning or not, and you just don't have the room to fool around. But it's almost that theme where, depending on whether the diamond wins or loses, you finesse the heart. The declarer can't afford, though, to do all that here. So, does he lead the 10 of diamonds? Yeah. Now, I don't think he's going to come back to the king of spades for another diamond finesse, because he could have been holding up with king third, so he's not going to risk crossing. Oh no, is he really going to? I don't think he would finesse again anyway. You've seen defenders hold up smoothly with king third, right? I don't think he was going to take another diamond finesse.
Right, well, we're on to the last board of what's been a pretty good session to watch. I've been quite happy with the boards. And my first thank you must go to our excellent view graph operator. Now, my memory is not of the best at my advanced age, but I can't remember a single mistake by our excellent operator, so very well done to him. Sorry I don't know his or her name. Many thanks to Larry. It's been a great pleasure commentating with him, and I'm really enjoying writing our book together. He's such a consummate professional, both in writing and analysing and everything, so that's a joy for me. I've written lots of books with co-authors, so thanks Larry, it was great. Thanks to the players, and thanks to BBO, and many thanks to so many kibitzers coming, watching first session of the day. Maybe you even had to set your alarm clock, and we had 11 or 1200 kibitzers, so that's absolutely great. Right, over to you.
Yeah, well, certainly thank you to all those people, and especially to you, David. It was a lot of fun, and it looks like we still have more fun here. This reminds me, this North hand, North wants to transfer to 3-no trump. This is a Marty Bergen invention. He calls them thrump doubles, where double here, he doesn't think it should be a traditional negative double, like with indicating spades. He thinks it should be cards, and that South should bid no trump with hard stop, then ignore a 4-card spade suit. Certainly that convention would work out well on this deal.
I'm told that the operator is Eria, so many thanks to her or him. Much appreciated. Goodness me.
Yes, I agree. It was not only a thorough mistake. Yeah, sorry, David. Not only a great job, but all the bids that should be alerted. Notice the little box around them. So an excellent job by the ViewGraph operator.
Yeah. Have you seen the bidding here? Just as I said, the operator hadn't made any mistakes. Perhaps he has. But it's hard to mistake. Goodness. God.
Well, I think maybe North-South had a mistake. Maybe 4 diamonds was meant as something else and taken as natural. Because it was alerted. 4 diamonds was alerted.
Well, usually the view graph operator is closer to North than to South, so North may have alerted it. South didn't. What an unbelievable auction from a world-class pair.
So, David, in this 14-board set, we've seen 2 conventional bids screwed up, We saw it on board 6 at the other table and here on board 14. And I hate to say it, but I can't emphasize enough. If these world-class players are playing these conventions and screw them up, why should the masses be playing them? Keep it simple. It's just a time after time after time. I see the same thing.
Yes, but this is an extremely obscure situation where no one who's ever attended one of your classes would ever think of playing this convention. And Al Hollander has just turned up and says he's got an old note that says 4 diamonds shows good clubs, and that 4 clubs would have been diamonds invitational plus, which is not a bad method, I suppose, because 4 clubs would have been forcing anyway. So it looks like Bocky, at any rate, has remembered the convention, and Cementa hasn't. But
yeah, very dangerous convention. And David, notice the viewgraph operator has clarified exactly what happened. Cementa forgot the system. It's typed in for us. So your viewgraph operator, I agree, has been tremendous. And I just sent a text to the viewgraph operator to say so. So meantime, the defense needs to play a club at some point to sever the communications. If they never play a trump, if they never play a club, the declarer is going to end up drawing trump and running the clubs. So they can cash a heart trick if they want, but they better get that club out on the table in time. And there we go. Okay, so now the defense can get their spade tricks at their leisure.
right, I just went to the other table to save the boards. We have the option of switching over to watch boards there, but in fact they're just bidding board 13, so there won't be much to see. We can see whether they managed to duplicate this auction. That's pretty amazing. I'm not necessarily going to put it in the bulletin just because they had a misunderstanding, but when I've got other good boards to show, but it is pretty amazing.
Not an easy hand to reach 3-0 trump by South, regardless. I would think the field, they do a great job. Anyone who can play 3-0 by South, I would think 5 clubs is a more normal scenario, and it's the question of what happens in that contract. I guess the defense has to get their major suit tricks in before declarer knocks out the ace of diamonds. So this isn't really that much of a disaster. If they were going to get to 5 clubs going down, this doesn't really cost them that much once they weren't going to reach 3-0 trump.
Well, I expect East would lead ace of hearts and switch to a spade against 5 clubs, wouldn't he?
And is that in time? I'm trying to remember the whole deal. Let's see. Declarer was 2, 1. Yeah, that would be in time.
You know, if you right-click and you're looking at the diagram that doesn't have the card pictures but just the AKQ, you can ask that the played cards are showed in pale grey. I always set that, and then you can see all 13 cards. It's really great.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. That does help you get back to the original deal.
Right. Well, that was great, Larry. I enjoyed that so much, and I'm just going to jump over to the other table to see what they do on 14. So, bye
All
for
right,
now,
David.
everyone.
Well,
Thanks for watching.
thank you. I'll be in touch with you by email. Bye.